Yeah.
I can barely hear you though.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Backyard Musings. Good morning. Broadcasting live from Apple Valley. I'm Steve.
I'm Scott.
And if you can hear me, let me know in the comments if you can hear me, which means we're not live. Okay. Concussions and repeated head trauma, common in sports like football and boxing, were once seen as an unfortunate but inevitable part of athletic competition. Today, and it's not just football and boxing, soccer. When
Any
you
contact sport.
when you smack the ball with with your headbutt, or lacrosse, any contact,
Yeah.
MMA.
Any sport with a projectile or a body movement, just
Yeah,
basketball. I mean, anything.
yeah. Today, they are recognized as serious health risks. Research has highlighted links between head injuries and neurodegenerative diseases such as chronic traumatic encephalopathy, encephalopathy, encephalo- I don't know, CTE,
There we go.
CTE,
CTE.
Alzheimer's disease, and Parkinson's disease, prompting sports organizations to update protective equipment and modify rules to reduce these dangers. And we've seen that in the NFL. They've really updated the equipment and the rules. Researchers suggest that early use of antiviral drugs might prevent these effects, offering a new perspective on managing long term brain health risks associated with sports. Would you like to know more?
Yeah. So I went to school. A guy. It was actually we were on the swim team together, but he played football in high school, and he got his bell rung, and yeah, it took him a long time to come back. I mean, he was a year older than I was, but it did. It messed him up for a long time.
Yeah, and this is not just limited to sports. I mean, in the military, traumatic brain injury, that's a very common occurrence in the military, especially in combat zones.
Right. Well, and
Mm.
and you figure in football, and I know they've come a long way with helmets. And in the military, you guys wear helmets, right? And they've come a long way with those too, since like World War One or two.
Yeah, but like concussive explosions, that
Right.
rattles your brain. Yeah,
Right. But how many people are riding around in a car or a truck wearing a helmet? So
exactly,
you get in an
exactly.
accident and you get spun around or flipped over or whatever. Yeah, you're primed for this kind of stuff. So the microbiome, is that right?
We're on scientists at Tufts University.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's yours. Oh, geez, I didn't mean to steal your glory on that one.
That's yours.
Yeah, scientists at Tufts University and Oxford University have discovered mechanisms that may explain how head trauma leads to these diseases. Their findings suggest that concussions could activate dormant viruses present in most brains, triggering inflammation and long-term damage over months or even years.
Dang.
Yeah. Uh, this research opens the door to potential early interventions such as antiviral treatments to mitigate the risks. The study was published January 7th, so just a couple days ago, in the Science Signaling. So,
Yeah, so it's very important when you get your bell rung, when you hit your head, a head injury, you need to talk to a doctor about it right away so that stuff like this you can address it, not just the concussion, but maybe taking antivirals to prevent further damage from swelling and stuff.
yeah, so when I was looking at this, it reminded me of when we have these underground earthquakes and tsunamis and stuff. And then all of a sudden, and I think we've talked about it before, these creatures or stuff that we've never seen before in the ocean will start popping up. They'll
Oh,
start,
like in the Hadal zones?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah, where these creatures that
the
they've never
trenches.
seen before. So
Uh-huh. Yep.
this is bizarre.
Yeah.
This stuff. So yeah, like you said, not just being concerned about the infamous concussion that you have, like after a head injury, and even a head injury on a playground, right? I mean, it doesn't even have to be something really violent. So, but anyway,
Yeah. Okay, so the microbiome, which includes many hundreds of bacterial species that inhabit our bodies, provides aid in digestion, immune system development, and protection against harmful pathogens. But the microbiome, I think we've talked about this before. It seems really familiar. But the microbiome also includes dozens of viruses that swarm within our bodies at any given time. Some of these can be potentially harmful, but simply lie dormant within our cells. Herpes simplex virus 1, found in over 80% of people. We've talked about that. And varicella zoster virus, found in 95% of people. Never knew that. Varicella zoster virus. I'm going to look that up. Are known to make their way into the brain and sleep within our neurons and glial cells.
Glial. Okay.
Glial.
Okay. Dana Carnes, research associate in the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the Tufts University and lead author of the study, had found evidence in earlier studies suggesting that the activation of HSV1 from its dormant state triggers the signature symptoms of Alzheimer's disease in lab models of brain tissue. Amyloid plaques, neuronal loss, inflammations, and diminished neural network functionality.
Yeah, not a fun thing to lose all that. Not fun at all.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. It's not even fun saying it all.
No.
Quote, in that study, another virus, varicella, created the inflammatory conditions that activated HSV1, said Carnes. Again, quote, we thought what would happen if we subjected the brain tissue model to a physical disruption. Now, what did they use? Whose brain did they use? Something akin to a concussion.
A mouse. Maybe a mouse.
Yeah, pretty small brain.
Yeah.
Would HSV wake up and start the process of neurodegeneration?
The link between HSV1 and Alzheimer's disease was first suggested by co-author Ruth Itzhaki, visiting professorial fellow at Oxford University, who over 30 years ago identified the virus in a high proportion of brains from the elderly population. And we've talked about that, how HSV1 can activate Alzheimer's. Previously, we've talked about it. Her subsequent studies suggested that the virus can be reactivated in the brain from a latent state by events such as stress or immunosuppression, ultimately leading to neuronal damage. In the current study, the researchers used a lab model that reconstructs the environment of the brain to better understand how concussions may set off the first stages of virus reactivation and neurodegeneration. I wonder if they used an AI computer for that. That would be cool to know, to find out.
Okay, so the brain tissue model consists of a 6 millimeter wide donut-shaped sponge-like material made of silk protein and collagen, suffused with neural stem cells, which are then coaxed into mature neurons, growing axons and dendrite extensions, and forming a network.
It's alive.
Okay, glial cells also emerged from the stem cells to help mimic the brain environment and nurture the neurons. The neurons communicate with each other through their extensions, similarly to how they would communicate in a brain. And just like cells in a brain, they can carry within them the DNA of dormant HSV1 virus.
It's alive. Okay, after enclosing the brain-like tissue in a cylinder and giving it a sudden jolt atop a piston, mimicking a concussion, Cairns examined the tissue under the microscope over time. Some of the tissue models had neurons with HSV1, and some were virus-free. After the control blows, she observed that the infected cells showed reactivation of the virus, and shortly after that, the signature markers of Alzheimer's disease, including amyloid plaques, p-tau, a protein that creates fiber-like tangles in the brain, inflammation, dying neurons, and a proliferation of glial cells called gliosis.
More strikes with the pistons on the tissue models, mimicking repetitive head injuries, led to the same reactions, which were even more severe. Meanwhile, the cells without HSV1 showed some gliosis, but none of the other markers of Alzheimer's disease. The results were a strong indicator that athletes suffering concussions could be triggering reactivation of latent infections in the brain that can lead to Alzheimer's disease. Epidemiologists
Epidemiological.
There you go. You said it. Studies have shown that multiple blows to the head can lead to doubling or even greater chances of having a neurodegenerative condition months or years down the road. Muhammad Ali.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a sad deal. I mean, here's a guy that was like top of his game.
Yep.
Top of his sport. Quick on the draw.
Yep. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Yeah, but I mean, but he was lively and he was sharp, and then to watch him just
degenerate,
just to decay and go to it was sad. And I was never really a Muhammad Ali fan.
I was,
but he was obviously a great fighter and stood his ground on a couple of things politically that didn't help him much, but. You don't want to see anybody go through that.
Yeah.
So just sad.
That's a bummer. Okay, quote, this opens the question as to whether antiviral drugs or anti-inflammatory agents might be useful as early preventative treatments after head trauma to stop HSV1 activation in its tracks and lower the risk of Alzheimer's disease, said Cairns. The problem goes far beyond the concerns for athletes. Traumatic brain injury is one of the most common causes of disability and death in adults, affecting about 69 million people worldwide each year at an economic cost estimated at $400 billion annually.
Well, not the money so much, but that's a huge amount of people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what? Yep. It's about 20%? 20% of our...
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
The brain tissue model takes us to another level in investigating these connections between injury, infection, and Alzheimer's disease, said David Kaplan, Stern Family Endowed Professor of Engineering at Tufts. Quote, we can recreate normal tissue environments that look like the inside of a brain, track viruses, plaques, proteins, genetic activity, inflammation, and even measure the level of signaling between neurons. This is there is a lot of
epidemiological
evidence and environmental and other links to the risk of Alzheimer's. The tissue model will help us put that information on a mechanistic footing and provide a starting point for testing new drugs. So, yeah, they need
breakthrough.
This is one of those deals where I'm not discounting the fact that cancer is a really ugly disease, but this is, if they could cure this, that would be great.
I think it's fascinating. They take this tissue, stem cell tissue, and they work it up in the lab. I think that's fascinating. That they're doing that to go down this avenue of research.
Yeah, because right now I don't know what they have to be able to treat Alzheimer's disease.
Nothing. I don't know. I don't know of anything. If you guys know of something to treat Alzheimer's, let us know in the comments. We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I've known several
and
people
others would appreciate it.
Affected by that, and then as well their families that have been affected by watching it happen. So sad deal. Long goodbye. So
all right, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the afternoon broadcast. Have a great day.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.